Hey, out there in the crypto world with DeFi IoT Latin America. Look, have you ever wondered why only 2% of the world's population have been successful in life and why the other 98% are not? Leadership in the world today and income levels are based off of that 1 and 2% tier. Which are you? That 2% or that 98%? Don't go away. We're going to share with you some tips on how you can become part of that 2%. Before we begin, I need to make a disclaimer. Here at DeFi IoT Latin America, we are not professional financial advisors, or are we paid by any company to promote certain products. We here at DeFi IoT Latin America, we invest our own money. We take our own risks. We learn, we make mistakes, and we share what we learn, our successes and our mistakes with you. So this video is for educational purposes only. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe, hit the bell, give us a thumbs up, and write to us what more you'd like to learn. Let's go in now and see what else we can share with you. Starting out, I want to tell you a few stories. Then I want to talk about what these people had in common. First story is of Frederick Smith, the founder of what we know today as FedEx. You know, when he was in college, he presented his thesis, the idea of Federal Express, and he was actually told that it was an absurd idea. Well, I want you to know that that company still today earns over $1 billion in net profits for a bad idea. Another person, Colonel Sanders, KFC. You know, when he retired, if I'm not mistaken, retired at the age of 65, didn't have much money to go off of, to live off, got his first check. It wasn't really enough to sustain himself. He decided, hey, I got to do something different. What do I do? So he started thinking, what do I have that I can go out and sell to people to create an income stream? Well, all he had was an old family recipe of chicken. So he went out to restaurants and he thought, well, I can go to them and say, hey, I'll let you use my recipe. You give me a percentage of that recipe, I mean, of the income that comes in from that recipe. He went out and hit the first door. No. The second door, he was told no. Third door, he was told no. 10th door, he was told no. Now, many of us at that point would have thought, I got a bad idea. People just aren't liking my idea. But he believed that that chicken was the best chicken he'd ever eaten. And it was a family secret. He kept hitting doors, 100, 200. He hit 1,000 doors. And I don't know which number it was after 1,000. It was 1,001 or 1,101. But after 1,000 doors, somewhere along that line, one person said yes. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think that person's name was actually Pete Harmon. Well, at least Pete Harmon, we know, he was a Mormon guy in Salt Lake City, actually told Colonel Sanders that he would open his first restaurant in Salt Lake City. Well, KFC today, we know, is global, and we can only imagine the amount of income and profit that has. Now, he's long since passed. Colonel Sanders has, but the story still remains the same. Let's go to another story. What I like is a guy that I know, he in his life had successes, and then he got caught up with the wrong crowd. You see, who you associate yourself with will bring out in you those characteristics, whether they be good or whether they be bad. So this is one of the principles. He got caught up in the wrong crowd after being in the good crowd for most of his life. He got caught up in the wrong crowd. He ended up doing some things that cost him to go to prison. He spent 4 years in a state penitentiary. Came out, people held things against him, really had a hard time trying to get back into a circle of good influences. He didn't want to go back to circle of bad influences, so he decided that he was going to educate himself and create his own business and then create his own circle of influence. It took him a few years, but within 7 years, after he was released from a state penitentiary and putting his life in order, he became a multimillionaire. Another story, Warren Buffett. Now, I'm not a big fan of Warren Buffett, where he stands politically, but his story's good. Warren Buffett, newspapers, nothing more than regular newspaper delivery boy. But he decided there was a way that he could actually sub that out to people, not actually go out and deliver. He would actually lock up the deliveries, sub them out to other kids to go out and deliver, and he'd make money off it. That's how Warren Buffett got started. Well, we know today that Warren Buffett is worth nearly $80 billion. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, the Apple phone we have today, the iPhone, Apple computer. Steve Jobs dropped out of college after 2 semesters. He and his partner saw that there was an idea, went out and developed it even further. Never finished college, went back once for a short time. But we know the wealth that Apple computer and Apple iPhone brings in today. Now, what do all these guys have in common? What's the purpose of them? None of them really actually ever created something new and novel. They just took something that already existed and thought of a way they could make it better, found a solution that could make it even more user-friendly or more friendly for the client, and took something that already existed and improved upon it. You didn't have to have a lot of money. They didn't have to have a lot of money. They didn't have money. You got guys that could basically college dropouts. Warren Buffett didn't have to have a lot of money to do newspaper routes. You didn't have to have a lot of money to get started with things or to sell your idea to somebody to help you get involved. I knew a guy once, the same guy I was telling you about, that was in prison, came back, started his life. He went out and he needed to fund $1 million in 1 week. He had no place to go. The banks turned him down. And he was able to find in 1 weekend exactly $1 million in investor funds. He had no prior experience working Wall Street. He was a typical common guy with a black mark against him. But even he could overcome it because he educated himself. He studied. He looked up what he could on the internet. He got books and he read. And he put himself in a position where when he spoke, people knew he was telling the truth. He knew what he was doing. And so they believed in that. Now, keep this video brief. The idea we want here at DeFi IoT Latin America is right now we're going into ending a year, going into a new year. And this principle applies whenever you listen to this video. But take some time now. Think what you can do to be self-sufficient. Look, you're in a world right now where it doesn't look like this pandemic is going to end anytime soon. People say, well, if there's a new chain coming out, that it's going to be the end of it. It's not very strong. But I'm telling you, in the country I reside in, there's business going on right now between governments, between Russia and the country I reside in now, where they're going to build a factory for vaccinations. And this is going to take 3 to 4 years to build a factory and then start vaccinating. So they plan on vaccinating for many years in the future. The virus is not going to go anywhere because if it does, people will stop vaccinating. I hope I'm wrong. Let's just say I'm not wrong. And let's just say hyperinflation hits us like we're talking about, and all the experts are showing, even the US government is now admitting. What are you going to do if you're out of a job next month or in 2 months? Become your own boss. Take charge of your own life. Become your own destiny. What are some brief characteristics? I want to go over a couple things here between FedEx and KFC and this guy I know, a friend of mine, Warren Buffett, Steve Jobs. What do they have in common? One, they believed in themselves. They believed in themselves. They knew they had something that people would like. Two, they didn't have to invent anything new. They just saw where they could improve upon certain niche markets or some idea. Three, they decided they were going to do it better than the competition was. Four, they took a look at what society needed or people needed. They just sat, observed. I've walked malls and just watched people. I've listened to people, what they complain about. How do you fulfill that need? Five, they wrote it down. Stephen Covey said, a dream remains a dream unless it's written. A goal is a dream put on paper. So they wrote it down. You don't have to be an expert at it. Write down your idea. Just write it down. Then set goals, timelines. I'm going to do this in this way by this time. Exact date, not by the end of February or the end of March. And it's not a New Year's resolution either. You write it down. Make a small plan. And as it goes along, you keep amplifying your plan until you have a white paper or a business plan. And last but not least, they all eliminated the negative from their lives. Now, we can go on and talk about many other stories. I can tell you many other stories of successful people in their lives that were told they couldn't do something. They eliminated negative in their life. When we're born, one of the first words the baby learns is no. It's negative. We're born into a very negative world. And people don't want to see you succeed. Because if you succeed and they don't, you're envious. Most people. It takes a very mature and confident person to actually celebrate your success with you. Even the people you think are your friends. Those people you think are your friends, most of them are going to say, I don't get involved. Now, we live in an era that's the cutting edge. We have blockchain technology, Internet 3.0 coming out. We have cryptocurrencies in that blockchain technology. And we have governments all over the world accepting now that cryptocurrencies are here to stay. There are so many opportunities now for one to become self-reliant that it would be your fault if you maintain a slave, a job, or a boss. We here at DeFi IoT Latin America, we want to help you become self-sufficient and self-reliant. We want to help you to be free financially, no matter what comes down the road, hyperinflation, what government regulations come in, what kind of freedoms are taken away. Here today in the country I reside in, today it came down with new mandates. It looks like we're headed towards Australia or Germany, where now, if you don't have a vaccination card, you are not even able to go into any stores whatsoever doing Christmas shopping. I don't want to be in that position. If I was a person who doesn't want to get vaccinated because of whatever reason of research I find, I shouldn't have to be forced to do it, and my life should not be taken from me. So there's many out there that think that way. And I support that free agency. That's why we support DeFi, the whole IoT industry, the whole blockchain and cryptocurrency industry. You can become your own boss. And this year going in DeFi IoT Latin America, we're going to help you develop these characteristics and emphasize on each one of these more. How to set goals, how to write a plan. We're going to do that and keep suggesting areas in which we're developing for passive incomes and how you can create passive income and become your own boss. More time with your family, more freedom. And remember something, most divorces come because of financial stress. You can relieve that financial stress from a relationship. You can have a better relationship with your spouse, with your children, your family, and with yourself. Hit the subscribe button, please. Hit the bell. Give us a thumbs up. Write to us. What else do you want to know? We want to help you become self-sufficient and become part of that 2%. The 2% of leadership in the world. 2% that makes that financial income without selling your soul, your career, putting your family and your God in their first positions, having time with them, but yet being free financially. Don't miss us. Subscribe. See you next time.